My hair is really weird today. I wore this thing to help to try to like keep it over here, but that obviously didn't work because, I mean, you saw it looked stupid in the middle of my video. Hello friends, it's Cassandra, and today we have a summer book review. Alright, so I've been reading a lot of books this summer because now that I'm out of high school, I have time to actually read things I want to read for fun because I have free time. So I'm going to share the books I've been reading, and honestly, these books have been pretty spot on. So there is a book that I actually loaned to a friend, but I did kind of try to sort of review it before I gave it to her, so I look different, but here's that review. Okay, so the first one, Not a Fan by Kyle Idleman. This is probably the most influential book I have ever read in my life so far. Oh man, it talks about so many things, like where, you know, what do you really put as number one in your life, and what does it really look like to chase after God and to be a real follower of Jesus and not just a fan. Really, you know, give your life for God and not just have God be part of your life. This is fantastic. Like, I can't even put into words how good this book is. Read this book, okay? Read it. So the first book I read this summer was A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Monster Calls is about a boy who this like tree comes to life. Is that a spoiler? I don't think so. It like comes to life and it's this monster. It's like, I'm here to help you get through this thing, and it reminds me of Gossamer by Lois Lowry because it's like it's a fantastical story, but there's also this other side to it that's so sad and heartbreaking and real. And so it's just like mirroring, each chapter mirrors both sides. I cried for like 20 minutes after I read this book. And it's one of those books where you're like, even the first chapter, you're like, I'm gonna cry at the end of this. You just like know it's coming, but you're like so ready for it at the same time because it's so good. Oh my gosh, this is so good. I guess it's a kid's book, ages 12 and up. Oh my gosh, there's so many things that are like so much deeper and stuff that I feel like you can't grasp as a 12-year-old. And the next book I read this summer, I think, was this one, Rook by Sharon Cameron. This is about a girl who, it's actually, wait, hang on, she talks about it. Sort of a retelling of The Scarlet Pimpernel by the Baroness Emma Orczy, O-R-C-Z-Y? I don't know if that's how you say it. I read a lot, but I don't pronounce things a lot, in case you couldn't tell. It's a story about these people, so it's in the future, but it's history repeating itself. So it's basically like we're back in the Dark Ages. There's this mysterious Rook who's getting the people out of jail, and there's this girl, and she's like supposed to marry this guy so that she can get like the engagement money. Then like people are on to the Rook, and she doesn't love this guy, and everyone expects her to marry this other guy. And this is probably the best fictional book I've ever read. Like, as a writer, I'm told like every detail has to matter, and if it's not important, you should delete it, and things like that. Okay, Sharon took that so much to heart. I kid you not. Every single little tiny, little minuscule detail in this book will circle back around, and like 5 chapters later, you're gonna be like, what? It's totally girl power. Like, yes. Like, you feel, as a girl, you read this book and you're like, dang, let's go conquer the world, honestly. Like, oh, it's so good. And the characters are all so dynamic and so in-depth In the beginning of the book, you're like,
oh yeah, I like this guy, not this one.
as you progress like a couple more chapters later, you're like,
What was I thinking? This guy's the worst. He's the worst.
and then you go full circle another 6 chapters later, and you're like,
I'm so sorry. I doubted you.
it's really good. Okay. The next book I read was Game of Lives. The first book, first of all, I love James Dashner. Love him. The Maze Runner series is one of my favorite series ever. The first book in this series that I've mined, it looks like this one, was so good. And then it was, I don't know, it was just one of those series that like kind of gets, I don't know, you just kind of get tired of it, but you're intrigued enough to want to finish it, but not enough to like enjoy it. The first book, I actually like couldn't sleep for like a couple of days because there's this one part that's just so creepy. And so I was hoping like things like that would like keep popping up in the rest of the books, and it didn't. And that honestly disappointed me. And then in the third book, he kept making Maze Runner references, which like, I don't know, it would have been funny if there was a context for it, but there wasn't. And I mean, I just couldn't, like, he never specified, like, these take place in the same world or anything like that. And so to me, it just felt cheesy. But I mean, the ending was satisfying. I mean, people died like they should have, so yeah, it was okay. The first book was really good. Alright, then I read The Keeper by, I don't actually know how to say his name, which is awkward because he's like a really famous writer. But this guy, David Baldacci, maybe? The Keeper. The first book is called The Finisher. Wait, I'll just go get it. It's right over here. Okay, this is the first one, The Finisher. And this is the second one, The Keeper. There's a third one, but I haven't read it yet. I won't tell you what this one is about, because that would give things away about the first one. So the first one is about this girl. She lives in this place called Wormwood. Basically, no one is allowed to leave the town, and she wants to know why. And she needs to find out, like, what's going on, and stuff like that. That's like a really watered down version, okay? It's more exciting than that. Just trust me, there's magic and stuff, okay? Monsters, magic. I love the main character in this book. She's so amazing. Like, you just, it's another one of those like girl power things where you're like,
I want to be her so bad.
it's like a fun, just like adventure story kind of thing. Anyway, I did like this one better, but I mean, that's just how it usually is, but this one was still good. Like, I'm still excited to read the next book. Okay, now that I talked about what all the books are about, I think I'm done. My video that I was hoping was only going to be 3 minutes long is probably around 9 now. Read some good books, embrace the awkward life, and I'll see you next week. Bye. I dropped one. Girl power. Yeah, boy. Yeah, girl. Yeah. Yay, girl. Yeah, so, my hair got weird again. So that's cool. Read some good books. Embrace the awkward. Whoa, I almost kicked my camera over.